From the creators of the original Cheat Sheet Rankings, this is the Fantasy Index Podcast. Brought to you by Fantasy Index, the original and best since 1987. Now your hosts, Luke Wilson and Colt Williams.
Hello and welcome back once again, everybody, to this week's installment of the Fantasy Index Podcast with, as always, Colt Williams. You can find him on the Twitter at _Colt Williams and me at dluke87 on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, whatever they're calling it these days. Colt, what did you think? We're filming, peek behind the curtain here. We're filming 10 minutes after the conclusion of Chiefs-Bucks overtime thriller, question mark, in Kansas City that just concluded with a Kareem Hunt touchdown to seal it. What were your takeaways from this game, Colt? Did you see the Mahomes knee buckle?
Yeah, I thought it was like an Achilles at first or something like that. Like it looked really bad, and it was non-contact, which obviously is always bad. I think he threw a touchdown on that play, if I'm not mistaken. Nobody cared about that. They were all looking at Mahomes. You and I were looking at him. The 70,000 people in the stands were looking at him. I was like, oh no, like this is not good. But he handed the ball off a whole bunch more times after that, and then threw it a few more times, and he finally had his first 20-point game in 4-point touchdown scoring since week 12 of last year. Like we did it. We finally got there. You target, Kelsey career high times, or in his receptions at least. Like, yeah, that'll do it.
All it took was bringing in DeAndre Hopkins, a first ballot Hall of Famer, and the down tremendously bad Tampa Bay Buccaneers secondary. I mean, I might start Bryce Young against them when they come up against the Panthers next. Like the degree to which that they are stymie. I said might. Don't quote me.
In 3 quarterback leagues.
I play a lot of three QB. Okay, it's what true sharps play. Yeah. The degree to which the Tampa defense is stymieing run games and also just a sieve to anything through the air is really something. We also last night saw the Colts and Vikings. The Vikings get it back on track with that 21-13 win against the Colts. Stop the bleeding. Stop the 2-game skid. Well, I saw in the show notes we have a note. We have a tidbit about Joe Flacco. You do. So I'll wait to pick your brain until we get to that point. Colt, what were some of your takeaways from Week 9 in the NFL? I saw we had some show notes about a couple of rookie wide receivers. Yeah,
so Week 9, I thought it was great. A couple of games in overtime. Just this Monday Night Football game, a couple of other games too. It was a fun week of football.
Rams Seahawks classic.
There were, that was a good one. We got another one this Thursday. We got Bengals Ravens. Like that's going to be another good Thursday night football game. Yeah. But just this last week, I mean, it always stinks when your main league or the one you're most excited for or still in the playoff hunt for, you're like, this is the one I want to win in. I want to win in it so bad. And then you have like AJ Brown. You have Jordan Love. You've got Kyron Williams with his worst game of the year. Like all your players just, it goes down. You win in 8 other leagues, but this one you lose, feels so bad.
Personal, for me.
That's me too, man. It was bad. Yeah. I was playing with a guy who's a first timer. I kind of coached him through the draft, kind of master splinter, talking to the Turtles, and there he is. He's grown up, and
Don't say it. He didn't beat you.
He beat me before Travis Kelce played.
Oh my God! And then he piled it on.
It was pretty bad. Yeah. But nevertheless, we roll on. 1 week does not define you. But yeah, a couple of rookie wide receivers. One we were talking about last week, Malik Neighbors. He was my trade for target. Before we were going into there, I said, yeah, the trade high.
I was pretty skeptical that anyone was going to be willing to come off of Malik Neighbors for any less than an absolute heist.
Well, it was a bigger trade than this, but it was basically.
Oh, you have an example.
It was basically Malik Neighbors for JSN and 49ers defense. The defense is kind of like a higher scoring thing in this particular league, but yes, it was certainly a heist and a buy low opportunity. And then he had like almost buyer remorse or regret because JSN goes out for like 33, 38 points here that week. But
I mean,
that was your window.
Yeah, if you had to I mean, that's kind of crazy because Malik Neighbors could outscore JSN absolutely at will. But if you had to attack the Rams matchup for some reason because DK Metcalf was going to miss that game, I guess I kind of see it. I mean, you're getting to the point in the season where 2-6, 3-5 teams are doing trades that they know aren't necessarily great value because they have to win this week. I mean, period. Mm-hmm. So, food for thought. If you're sitting pretty at 5-3 and 6-2, you can go force the issue. Just a reminder with teams that are 2-6, 3-5, especially the members in your league, the guys who really care, the guys who are 2-6, not because they stink and because they're not paying attention, but because they've had bad beats. They lost Rashee Rice, they lost Nico Collins early on, and they're still salty about it, but they're still paying attention. You can go talk to those guys right now. So just a reminder, as trade deadlines bear down on us far and wide. Yeah, I think I'm keeping the Neighbors side on that one personally.
Certainly.
JSN had himself a lovely game. Him and the Rams defensive backs were John all day. I mean, he won. They got his blood up, and that was not smart. I mean, they won the game, but yeah. Yeah, I'm not too. I hear what you're saying about defensive scoring played a part in that, but that's sus.
But I do agree. If you got to manufacture any type of win that you can, there's still 20 teams to go on by, including week 10. There's 20? 4 in it's a ton. There's 4 in week 10 and 11. So that's 8 there. And then you've got 12, the 2 6s on week 12 and 14. There's a ton of teams left that still have to go on by. I have a lot of those players. You're going to have a lot of those players because it's more than half the league. You got to manufacture wins somehow. But I did want to kind of quiz you on this real quick. A little game that we have. All right. You didn't know fully about this, but we were talking about rookie wide receivers. Mm-hmm. You were saying, Malik Neighbors could outscore JSN each week. Let's talk about another rookie wide receiver, Marvin Harrison Jr.
I've heard of him.
Okay.
Yep.
I want you to guess who has more PPR fantasy points on the season, not per game, than Marvin Harrison Jr. or Darnell Mooney.
Oh, that's at this point. It's got to be Mooney. It's got to be Mooney.
It is Darnell Mooney. Yes, because he's such a good player. Marvin Harrison Jr. or Jacoby Myers?
Tell me, it's not Jacoby Myers.
It is Jacoby Myers.
Oh,
yes,
no.
yes. No, it's pretty bad. Ladd McConkey also has more points. Khalil Shakir, Jameson Williams. Here's a great one. Marvin Harrison Jr. or Quentin Johnston?
I will leave. I will walk out. I don't have anywhere to go, and I'll walk out. I'll find a way.
It's Quentin Johnston, dude. This is points per game. Sorry, points per game. I don't know if I actually did preference that. I think I actually might have said it's not that.
Is Quentin Johnston? Did he somehow monkey paw the bus curse off of himself?
It's a thing
onto the prodigal one. He was supposed to. He was supposed to unite the force, not divide it.
But here we are.
Oh my god!
Here we are. I mean, I think
this has to stop, though. Come on, it's not gonna. I mean, they've played some good teams. The Dolphins. That's like the best. That's like the most blanketing secondary against passing offenses in the league. The Bears are no slouches either. Yeah. Marvin Harrison Jr. is probably a buy low, frankly.
I'm glad you asked that because I looked at his schedule. Half the time he's killed you. 4 out of 8 games, for excluding his concussion game. You started him, but I'm not going to count that against him. 4 out of 8 games were absolutely stinkers. His remaining schedule, he should do better. This week he gets the Jets, number 1 against wide receivers, not ideal. Then the bye week, he's going to score you 0 points, guaranteed. But then he gets the Seahawks. Huh?
He could get traded.
He could get traded, yeah. But he gets the Seahawks, who are 24th against wide receivers. Vikings, dead last. Seahawks again.
Whoa.
Patriots, 19th. Panthers, who are 12th, but that's just because teams have run up the score against them, don't really need to pass against them. I think Cardinals will need to. And then the Rams, who are 23rd. They don't play a top 16 team outside of the Panthers, but we know they're kind of a fraud in that respect. This is your buy low opportunity if there ever was one.
This is tremendous. This is top work, sir. Yeah, no, I knew that Marvin Harrison Jr. owners were salty, deservedly so, because you paid wide receiver 1 prices and you had been getting maybe low end wide receiver 2 production half the time. But yeah, that's the kind of thing fantasy championships are made of. If you can go flip Jacoby Myers for Marvin Harrison Jr. right now to somebody who's salty enough, oh my god.
I sent out Cedric Tillman for Marvin Harrison Jr. It's kind of a longer play, and I love Tillman. You know that.
Okay, that's one way to do it. Yeah. All right. Did it have to be Tillman? I mean,
it was like Tillman. The next tier down was like Keenan Allen. So yeah, it had to be Tillman.
Yeah.
And nobody was buying him when he had 2 good games in a row. Now I've got a third, and like I've been trying to sell him 3 times. You're hot.
To be fair, I did just look, and Tillman from week 12 on has Pittsburgh, Denver, Pittsburgh again, and then the Chiefs before getting a little bit of a break against the Bengals week 16. Oh, but then week 17 he gets the Dolphins. So actually, yeah. That in redraft, that's you got to pull the trigger on that. You got to be brave. You got to be brave.
Speaking of brave, do you want to get into the injuries?
I got to sell my Tillman redraft shares. Hold on. Pause the pod.
Yeah, you sell those. I'm going to talk about some injuries. It's actually going to be kind of brief with them. There's not too terribly many, but to some big names. Let's start it off with A.J. Brown. He is day-to-day with the knee injury. The MRI came back that it's not extremely serious, but he does play on the later slate of games on Sunday, so have some kind of option to audible out.
Drake London, perhaps?
Yeah, I like Dotson. He only had 1 snag, but it was a crazy good catch.
And Dallas Goedert is iffy at best to make it back, so... But they get the Cowboys. They're probably going to run up the score. I would probably just go to a different team altogether.
Yeah. Drake London, day-to-day with a hip pointer. Some better news.
Darnell
Christian
Mooney,
McCaffrey.
Trending upward.
Yeah. Darnell Mooney. If you want to go as far as Ray McLeod, a little spoiler alert, but we're talking about him in the waiver wire.
I don't recommend it, but I've done
it. Christian McCaffrey, his practice window is open. Hoping to make his season debut. From his Achilles injury. Are you starting him in his first week back?
So what I recommend and what I personally would do, there's some sunlight between those two two answers.
And it's against Tampa.
It's against Tampa. Tampa's gonna fight you saw this game tonight. Like the Tampa fought to the burger against the Chiefs team that is on a mission, and the Bucs went down swinging anyway. Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers lied directly into our faces literally until the last second that they could before running afoul of like NFL, moral turpitude laws. Like, okay, you have to tell the truth eventually. Like, I personally, I'm not. Unless I absolutely have to, if it's between McCaffrey and like Braylon Allen or some crap like that, like, okay, fine, I'm going to put CMC out there. But the 49ers, the NFC, if some team were at 6-2 and running away with the division, that'd be one thing. The 49ers kind of have the whole thing right where they want it. Like, yeah, they got to get CMC back, and losing Ayuk hurts, and they need Debo to stop getting hurt all the time. But they're not in desperation mode at all. They're not going to get the 1 seed at this point. They're going to have to go on the road in the playoffs. I think they've already made their peace with it. So, and it's the Bucs. Like, you can't run on the Bucs. CMC is not really a running back, but yeah, like, what are we talking here? Maybe 40% of the snaps. That's tough. It's got to be full PPR.
Let's ask for the people how low you would go. Let's go Tyrone Tracy versus the Panthers.
Tracy, not even close. Not even
really?
Close.
Okay.
Not even close.
Okay. Let's go Najee Harris at Washington.
Oh, God.
Jalen Warren back into the lineup.
In full PPR, I would go CMC. Short of that, I'm going to stick with Najee. Najee's a man looking to get himself paid. So, yeah, I'm fine with Najee.
What about a guy who has been great and serviceable in the meantime, Chuba Hubbard, with Jonathan Brooks probably into the lineup, who is also going to be limited, I'm sure, but against the Giants?
I'm not. Jonathan Brooks is going to have to give me a reason to be afraid of him. Chuba Hubbard's been the best player on the offense for the Panthers. It's not even close.
Yeah,
he's the reason that they are 2-6, 2-6 or 2-7. He's the reason they have 2 wins and not none. So I'm saying Chuba. Again, man looking to get himself paid. I'm going Chuba there for sure.
Last one here, Rico Dowdle versus Philadelphia or CMC.
CMC, yeah.
Okay, we're not going that low. So so that puts him at probably like a low end running back 2 with hopeful upside.
Right. I mean, he could easily get 2 touchdowns. That would not beggar belief at all. Especially again, no Brandon Ayuk, Ricky Pearsall's bullet entry wound is not fully scabbed over yet. So yeah, there's gold in the hills for any 49ers that can go out there and mine it. But against Tampa, the 49ers are not fully up against the wall here. There's people, oh my God, they're 4-4. Again, nobody is 7-1 in this division. They're fine. So, yeah, I don't want to start CMC until I have some idea of what I'm actually getting.
Yeah, totally agree with you there. And I love the gold panning.
Just do it. Don't listen to me.
That is true. A lot of teams who have him have been holding on to him, hemorrhaging, and they're going to have to start him. So maybe we're just wishful thinking there. And I love the gold joke because I'm going sluice box. It's like gold panning type stuff here this weekend.
With the little metal grate, and you get out the little...
You let the water do the work.
Yeah, man.
Yes, I'm doing that this
podcast, Life No More.
If we find gold, you will not see me next Monday.
Colton is a great gold miner name too. Plus, you have the beard going. Like you're already there.
I'm there. Nico Collins is also there. Hopefully for week 10. Hamstring injury. Yep. If he is back in the lineup, I'm 100% starting him. He plays in Sunday Night Football. He's not somebody who we've been waiting for the whole time. Like if they believe he's back, then they need him too. But he does play Sunday Night Football, so have some kind of other option just in case, unless we know that he's 100% going to start as of, like Friday. It's a hamstring injury. Could always, like in pregame warm-up, like we saw it at Evan Ingram, that was kind of a late thing. Be wary. CeeDee Lamb, week to week with a shoulder injury. He also plays later on Sunday, and he lost his quarterback, Dak Prescott. He's going to miss multiple weeks with a hamstring injury. Saw him get his hand looked at and taped up. I'm sure that has to do a little bit of something with it, but the hamstring, nevertheless, like that's going to take him out. Chris Olave. Now, we might have to sit here for a second. Knocked out in week 9 with a concussion. This is absolutely serious. This is 4 reported and confirmed concussions in the NFL over the past 2 years. Like, this reminds me a ton of like Tua or Jordan Reed. If you remember Jordan Reed, the Washington tight end, like he had a plethora of concussions. Like it was awful. I wouldn't expect him back this week. It could be a multi-week thing. We saw it with Malik Neighbors just earlier in the season, but
he could go to IR.
That's bad.
It would not. I mean, that's what the Dolphins just did with Tua. So there's a little bit of a player management recent precedent set there. And I mean, the Saints just fired their head coach. It's over. Like, this is a team that's quickly becoming like the 2023 Redskins, where it's like, okay, we started off 2-0, and then things just went bad. And like, on the one hand, Olave would like to set himself up to be in position for a nice fat contract extension coming out of 2025. That's not really his call right now. That ball's in the Saints' court, and assuming that they still like the player, he's still part of their plans. Which you certainly don't want to hold concussions against a player and say, we don't plan for you to be here long term. Why wouldn't you mothball him? Why wouldn't you sit him down in a lost season where you know what he can do, and what are you're gonna put him out there and risk serious long-term complications so you can go 5-12 instead of 3-14? Like come on. So I mean, if I'm an Olave owner, I'll take just about anything at this point, because what is the ceiling when we were on the interim special teams coach as the head coach? We've reached that point in the season. The Chargers and the Panthers, once they were in interim head coach mode, those offenses were not exactly scintillating. Mm-hmm. So, and I have a little bit higher hopes for the Saints here, but not much. I do like one of the other Saints receivers that we're going to talk about here in a little bit, as a it's tinfoil hat time. But as far as Lamb, I'm not necessarily downgrading him with Rush. Like, I'm looking at his game logs from when Rush was under center, when Dak missed time in 2022. 11 targets for 775. 12 targets for 887 and a touchdown. 8 targets for 697 and a touchdown. That's not 2023 Lamb, but it's certainly 2024 Lamb easily. So here in Dallas, keep in mind, I am a Cowboys fan. I'm here in Dallas. I'm subjected to Cowboys sports radio. The sentiment immediately post the Falcons loss is this is it. This is our Waterloo. Like, if the Eagles games, Eagles coming to town, that's always huge. Are we at Philly? Actually, I'm not even sure. But
I'll figure it out.
We're here. It's here in Dallas. Eagles come to town. That's if we're gonna go 2-15, those 2 wins need to be the Eagles. Like this is always one of the biggest games of the year. This is it. Like if the Cowboys lose this game, it's over. They're not gonna get back into the hunt. They're probably not gonna win this game. But AJ Brown is now banged up. Like again, the season comes down to this. Mike McCarthy's head coach tenure in Dallas is probably coming down to this. Like it is all on the line here, and Lamb, there's been a lot of grimacing and side eye and meaningful staring matches between him and Prescott so far this season. But he is a competitor. Like I believe that he wants to win this game and try to save the season. I think he's going to go. So that's my gut read here before we have any indications, like in terms of practice participation throughout the week. I'm throwing a lifeline of hope to Lamb owners out there. I only have him in one league out of my many, so yeah. I'm not super biased here, but yeah, just my 2 cents on it. For given where if the Cowboys were 6-3, he wouldn't go, but they're not. So
yeah, Lamb is still locked into my lineup. He's not locked as wide receiver 1, closer to a wide receiver 2, maybe a lower end wide receiver 2 with Cooper Rush. But that was a good example of the kind of the split between the two. Small sample, but at least we have something to kind of go off of. And I think that was with Cooks in the lineup. Nevertheless, I mean, it's kind of like CeeDee Lamb is still the only guy in town. They've got no run game. Like we are expecting them to be down in these games. So yeah,
Michael Gallup was his running mate back then, who has since,
what should have been,
has since departed us for retirement. He's not dead.
Where do we leave off? Chris Olave, again, knocked out with a concussion. His teammate, Bub Means, landed on IR. Basically, the Saints have no one. They have one guy. We're going to talk about him outside of Kamara, who's probably going to catch 10 balls a game.
Bub Means was just for decoration, Colt. That was it.
That's it. That's all.
That was it. That was all.
Yeah.
Don't got him on my
Caleb Williams twisted his ankle in the final play of the game. Currently being viewed as not serious. That was a little weird one. Zach Moss, he's out indefinitely with a neck injury. Adam Thielen is getting close to coming back with a hamstring injury. Again, if Bryce Young is under center, I'm not really excited for any of those guys, but somebody's going to be a leading.
He has shown some flickers of life. We'll see.
That he has. And then Keon Coleman needs a little bit of further testing on his wrist. We don't have any updates on that, but that could be a pretty big blow. He's kind of shown out here these last couple weeks.
It's not sounding real great. The initial murmurs from Bills, like the Bills beat, sports beat, is not great. So Keon Coleman owners, get ready for some more bad times.
A little bit of news we talked about just briefly. Saints, they fired Dennis Allen, their head coach, former head coach. Jonathan Brooks, he should be in, getting his season debut. They're in week 10 against the Giants. They're middle of the pack against running backs. I'm personally not starting him. There's 4 teams on bye. There should be this should be a wait and see approach, just like it was with Nick Chubb, who hasn't looked great. And Chuba Hubbard's been fantastic in his own right. So it's hard to throw him out there. He just seems like somebody who's wasted a roster spot for you basically all season. Hopefully it was just IR, but if it was a bench spot, like you've been burning that hole, like it's been awful.
I will say, and I don't know why this didn't occur to me sooner, because we have Miles Sanders coming up later in the show as a possible, dart throw trade candidate for like 14, 16 teamers. If Miles Sanders is hanging out there, go grab him, because, hey, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Although NFL trade deadline is over before waiver wires, so never mind. But Chuba Hubbard could be on the move tomorrow.
Could be.
Why? I mean, why not? I don't think it's going to happen, but it makes as much sense as Sanders.
Yeah. I mean, he's just been playing. Sanders, he's been playing so great. And I don't know if the Panthers really want to do. Maybe they do. I mean, they held Deontay Johnson. They made him inactive before they knew they were going to trade him. Like they did what was best for the player. So. And
for my money, I think Chuba Hubbard could be back in Carolina next year, because two man backfields are all the rage. So
they really are. People love that. Fantasy people don't, but as somebody who has Bijan Robinson, I'm constantly tweeting about Tyler Algier and my hate for him. But and he's a good running back too. I feel so bad.
Fine.
Jameson Williams reinstated from his 2-game suspension, so he'll be back for the Lions, just as if they couldn't get any better. Here they go.
Seriously.
Joe Flacco, Shane Steichen came out and said, hey, he is the starter for the rest of the season. I took this and translated it as Flacco is our Week 10 starter, because if anybody watched that that primetime game there against the Vikings, then mind you, the Vikings defense is good.
Yeah.
Joe Flacco looked awful. Anthony Richardson was on the sideline, ready to go the entire game. I thought there was a chance that they were going to throw him in there. Low probability, but I was like, man, he just looks not good. So that's how I read it.
179 yards, no touchdowns, and an interception that would even make Anthony Richardson blush. I mean, threw it directly to the Vikings defense. Yeah, we were talking a little bit before the show. Coming out of the Texans game where Richardson looked terrible, he infamously took himself out for that one play. The Colts looked at the schedule and saw they had the Vikings, the Bills, road game against the Jets, and the Lions coming up. And they said, you know what? We're not going to do that to this young man. Joe, sorry, buddy. Time for you to go take one for the team, which, by the way, you're not going to be back here next year. So this is a one-way take it for the team situation. But
it's my team. I'll do it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, Flacco's the guy for the rest of the season. If by some miracle he leads them to some wins here in the next few weeks. But they say it's a situation where I think they're saying that so that all the pressure's off Richardson. He doesn't need to feel like, oh, I'm one play away. He really might be, but they don't want that in his mind right now. They want him to kind of purge the last few weeks of his football career from his memory banks. So yeah, good luck this week, Colts. Good luck, Joe Flacco.
Yeah, good luck, Flacco. And then the last little bit of news, Audric Estime, the hype train is kind of chugging along. 6 out of 9 games, Javonte Williams has failed to eclipse 4 yards per carry. Estime, he's just shown juice. It's a very limited role, and we see that all the time with backups. Like, they're like, oh, this guy should be the starter. Like, he looks so great. It's very limited. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you can add him in any 12-team leagues, maybe 14 or 16, or if you got a deeper bench. I will find it hard to put him on there.
Who would you? I'm just gonna go for some names kind of off the top of the head. Some running backs. Okay. Who would you drop this guy to go pick up Audric Estime? Zach Moss. Out indefinitely now, which we don't really know what that means. It's not good.
I'm going to say no. I'd keep Zach Moss. I'm not excited about it.
That's fair. Zach Charbonnet, Seattle.
I like Charbonnet still more.
Yeah, okay, fair.
So I'll tell you, I'm holding Blake Corum and Trey Benson over Audric Estime.
That's a little.
So I'm going super deep.
I said you were dynasty pilled before we started recording, and then you had to go and say that. He's dynasty pilled, folks. He's thinking 2026 max value, and most of us are just worried about the next 9 weeks. Colton, okay, yeah. No, that's Corum is the right call. Benson, we'll get to that in a little bit. I don't think Benson has the backup job right now. I really don't think he does. Yeah. But
no, certainly. Let's actually get into it. Let's get into the waivers.
Right in.
The bye weeks this week, we got the Browns, Packers, Raiders, and Seahawks. It's the first little the day one of four teams on bye. Not great. So running backs, if you don't need to start, grab yours or either some other backup running backs. It's time to get the insurance running backs to the playoffs. We are both, I think, in the camp of is it Amari DeMarcado? Is it Trey Benson? For the Arizona backfield, James Conner's never played a full season in his entire career. Right. He's being used more now than he ever has in his career. This is the point where you need to grab one of those guys. I think you're in the DeMarcado camp. I'm in the Trey Benson camp. It could very well be DeMarcado. It could very well be Benson. It could be a split backfield. You're talking about two-headed backfields. They might just deploy that.
No, if something were to happen to Connor, I have absolutely no faith that either of these guys takes it over. DeMarcado has been a home run hitter. He had a 40-yard run against the Rams in week 2. He only had 2 touches in that game. Turned one of them into a long gain. And then yesterday he has that long touchdown, and then adds on 2 catches for 21 yards for good measure. He was the running back 15 this week. Actually, probably running back 16 with Kareem Hunt's production tonight. But down week for running backs when a guy with 6 touches was the RB15. I like DeMercado. He was just kind of a weirdo who never really did anything. He's kind of like Guarendo out of San Francisco, a guy who just never did anything in college and then showed up to the combine and everyone was like, whoa, who the hell is this guy? So, and he's 25, like some Ray Davis, knockoff Ray Davis here. But I mean, he went to TCU. He went to football school. He graduated from football school. So
that he did.
Yep.
DeMercado, maybe I just have like some scars from last year when James Conner went down. I picked him up, spent a good deal of fab, and I was like,
that can happen.
So maybe I'm projecting a little bit from 2023 Colt. I don't know.
Benson is the better player, sure. I mean, I watched Benson's tape coming out of Florida State last year too. Guy can fly. I mean, when he hits the gas, oh my God, it takes your breath away. But like the last 3 months, matter. And in August, like I don't think that Jonathan Gannon, Cardinals head coach, could have picked the guy out of a lineup. He was not impressed at all with Benson in July and August. And DeMercado's been making some plays. So yeah, if something were to happen to Connor, you're looking at a 2-headed backfield until one of them takes the thing by the cojones.
That's probably true. 2 guys that are probably rostered, but just have to mention them here real quick. Rico Dowdle and Jonathan Brooks. Jonathan Brooks' roster percentage has just been going down since the draft. People just can't hold on to him. They need to manufacture some wins. And, Rico Dowdle, like healthy scratch, and Dalvin Cook's coming there. Zeke is moving around. Now he's a healthy scratch. Looked good last week. Caught a touchdown. Like, again, these guys are probably rostered, but go out there and get them if you can.
That's exactly why you never draft a running back, any running back that is not, like Nick Chubb level type running back, who is going to miss the first 4 weeks. You tell yourself going in, like, oh, it's just the first 4 weeks. You can't. If you have a 6-man bench, you can't deal with that for 4 weeks. You're gonna get short-term memory real fast. You're gonna dump this guy. So yeah, the people who took Brooks in like the 8th round, a lot of those teams are not looking at a playoff spot right now unless things turn around for them. So.
Yeah, it almost always backfires when you buy the injury dip with these guys during the drafts and draft season. Like it's almost always bad. I get it. There's a lure to it. And then also like there's maybe trade bait later on. I'm not a person who drafts to trade somebody, but as soon as he gets closer and closer to his value at week 1 couldn't be any lower because he's not coming back until like week 8 or so. So like it just. Yeah, and then now Chuba Hubbard's doing great. Like it's such a bad situation. If Hubbard wasn't doing great, Jonathan Brooks would be, everybody would be hot for him.
Sure, right, but they don't need him. And again, we're talking about a guy. It's not like he tore his ACL last August. He tore his ACL last November, so he's not even 12 months removed currently today. So yeah, Dowdle. I mean, if Rico Dowdle hasn't put to rest any concerns of like a running back by committee here, he's never going to, and he really may not, because the Cowboys, there's an internal butting of heads between head coach and ownership over who the running back should be. But Dowdle, after missing San Francisco game with a fever, air quotes, I mean, he was fantastic. He was the best he's ever looked. He had a miraculous touchdown reception that got the Cowboys back in the game, even though they wound up going on to lose. But he dropped the ball initially, then tipped it back to himself and caught it while he was on his back. It was a hell of a play. But he also ran 12 times for 75 yards. He's the guy. He's clearly the best running back they have. It's not even close. He's got real speed. He's got real size. He can catch the ball. So yeah, if Rico Dowdle is somehow hanging out there in your league, even in 10 team, you got to go get him. And if you can pry him loose at the deadline, I think he's a quality running back 2 flex. Honestly, he's not Tony Pollard, but the production could be similar.
Yeah, no, I agree there. Here's a guy who probably is available. He's available in 3/4 of leagues. Ray Davis, backup, a rookie running back, although he's almost the same age as James Cook. For the Bills, 3 out of the last 4 weeks, he's been completely serviceable. I mean, he's clearly the running back 2 on the team. So if there were any kind of mishaps to Cook's and his health, like he's found the end zone a lot recently. He's at the top of my list of people who aren't highly rostered. I mean, it's scary because he doesn't get a lot of touches, Like if that's what you're looking for, you're not going to find that on the waiver wire anyways. But if you're looking for a home run threat or just a guy who has upside on a very good offense, like look no further than Ray Davis. That's the guy.
He made a hell of a play on that dump off from Josh Allen. I mean, he it wasn't like, the defender fell down and he just coasted for 50 yards. He made that touchdown happen. So there's no way that the Bills have not taken notice of this, especially with Keon Coleman now out potentially for multiple weeks. Amari Cooper's been banged up too. He's not a wide receiver, but they're going to kind of like the Bucs with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin out now. They're going to force those touches to other positions. They have to. So, yeah, I like Ray Davis a lot. And obviously, if you're there's not a lot of leagues where he's not owned, but if you're the James Cook owner, go trade for him. Like it's now time to risk mitigate for the playoffs. Like James Cook has been an RB1. If he goes down, Ray Davis is going to be an RB1, guys. It's that simple. So, yeah, you need to go get Ray Davis. I mean, I would trade if I'm the James Cook owner, I would trade. Who would I give up for Ray Davis?
Trade like Zach Charbonnet for Ray Davis?
I'd trade Jonathan Brooks for Ray Davis, straight up. In redraft?
Okay. I get that.
Absolutely. It's risk mitigation. I don't want to start Brooks ever in the next 9 weeks.
You're saying only if you're the James Cook owner, though?
Right. Yeah. I'm not going to do that just on a larf. Yeah. No. I'm trying to shore myself up.
I got you.
I own the Bills backfield. I want to continue to own the Bills backfield. That's all that is.
Gotcha. Would you go as far as like Travis Etienne for Ray Davis?
Okay, that's getting a little.
I mean, that guy's been awful.
It's been rough, and Tank Bigsby's making his life a living heck. I'm not gonna do that because he is still, was he a first round?
He was a first round pick. Yeah,
first round
right after Najee, I think. Yeah.
Did he go in the first round? Anyway, he'll be back. We have not heard the last of Travis Etienne, I'm quite sure, and that's a bridge too far because James Cook goes down, you trade him for Ray Davis, then Ray Davis gets hurt, and Travis Etienne scores 2 touchdowns in the week 17. So that's getting too cute.
Travis Etienne hit waivers in one of my leagues. That's why
I believe it.
And I spent all of my fab, as you could imagine, for him. I didn't have to start him, but nevertheless, he was out there. Jaylen Warren. Available in about half of leagues. He's been banged up on the season. He's back after the Steelers bye. He's been serviceable in a limited fashion. Last season, that was, if Najee were to go down, I think he would have an opportunity there. Again, we're just kind of naming backup running backs. They've got a lot of shootouts on the horizon, like these next few weeks. They've got a lot of shootouts, so maybe he gets some receptions there in a PPR league. Again, these are deeper guys. We talked about Audric Estime. Like, I don't think there's a way I can hold him. You talked about where you kind of have him ranked. And then just a couple of trade deadline guys, Miles Sanders, Khalil Herbert for the Bears. Like, these are guys who could be on the move. By the time you hear this podcast, they may have already been moved or not moved at all. But trying to get ahead of that curve if at all possible.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm the Javonte Williams owner, even if it's tough. You can't dedicate 3 roster spots to one backfield. But if I'm the Javonte Williams
the
owner,
Denver backfield,
right? Just I'm gonna pick up Samaje Perine just in case he comes back. Just in case. If I'm the Javonte owner, I'm trying to clear space for Audric Estime at this point because Javonte has been good in fantasy, but let's be real, he ain't been great. There's been acres of opportunity for carved out for him to be the beating heart of this offense. And what's he going for right now? Yeah, he's at 3.8, 3.8 a carry for the season. That's not good enough. We know that's not good enough. I don't think they're not going to trade him at tomorrow because nobody wants him. So he's not going away. But yeah, this backfield is just a little bit too valuable to not make room for Estime over like if you've still got Zeke Elliott on your bench, dump him and go get Audric Estime. Let's take a real upside stab here, folks. Even like Ty Chandler, a guy who I know is good, who could have an opportunity. I'm not necessarily going to do that because Aaron Jones could get hurt too. But like those types of guys, Sean Payton is telling us this guy's going to see the field. How much we don't know, but he's going to see the field. Ty Chandler's not seeing the field right now.
Yeah. No, I agree. Ty Chandler, you got Zamir White. Like, these are guys I'm dumping.
Oh, God, yeah.
Damian Pierce, I'd probably dump him for Estime. Like, that, I have to go pretty deep for him, but again, that's where I'm at.
I would dump Jonathan Brooks for Audrey Estime. I mean, that's where I'm at with it. So I know. Look, your dynasty pilled, my friend.
I don't have the dynasty.
Will Jonathan Brooks be the RB 17 in 2027? Sure, fine, maybe. I don't know. Possibly, but we're not. It's 2024 right now, my friend.
I have 0 shares of Jonathan Brooks for the record.
Salty about it.
But I had one and I sold it off along with Rome Odunze for Marvin Harrison Jr. But it looked really good at the time.
It'll be fine. It'll pay off.
It'll be fine. Brighter days are ahead. But speaking about wide receivers, let's get into them. Probably rostered, but double check. Cedric Tillman, Jerry Jeudy, Browns wide receivers. They're about 60% rostered, but Tillman has looked like the man. Jerry Jeudy, as far as target share goes, like he's up there. I don't think the touchdowns have quite come his way. But yeah, I mean, as long as Jameis Winston, again, is still in there, they don't go to, DTR? Mm-hmm. As long as they don't go to him, then I'm okay starting Tillman. Basically each and every single week. I was really not excited about this matchup. Ben has an incredible touchdown.
33 targets over the last 3 weeks. I mean, he's doing that one heck of a Malik Neighbors impression right now, folks. So, yeah, Tillman has already reached every week start status until further notice because
yeah. Well, not this week.
I don't know. Like, it depends on how bad your alternatives are. Like Tillman on his bye week versus Marcus Valdez-Scantling. I might go.
That's close.
It's close. Yeah, it's a toss-up for sure.
Allen Robinson on the Lions, or I was going through the doc to try to add people to the waiver wire episode, and I saw Allen Robinson was on the Lions now. I was like, since when?
If your league has scoring for pancake blocks for your wide receivers, then I might go Robinson. Okay.
Yeah. Let's go on to one of my favorite guys in the NFL. He's not the best player, at least right now. He's a rookie, but he has the best accent in the NFL. Xavier Leggett, rostered about half of leagues. You know, he's shown flashes, 13 targets, 2 touchdowns in the past 2 games. Like, the schedule looks great. It's Bryce Young is what scares me, and he's nothing more than like a second flex. A lot of teams are beat up, so some people are flexing him out there. I'm not that bold. Hopefully you've got better options. We got to mention Coker and Adam Thielen, both on the team. Like, these are guys, if you want to invest in the worst offense in football, by all means.
Your Patriots are making a push, and
I wish you didn't have to say that.
My Cowboys may be making a push
with Cooper Rush. Yeah, maybe so.
There was talk on Cowboys Twitter like, what are we doing? Why don't we put Trey Lance out there? What do we do? Why do we trade for him if we're not even going to take a look at him? It's not going to happen. But if Rush stinks this week, I don't know. Yeah, I like Leggett. He can play. Obviously, he's freak big. He's freak fast. It's hard. It's hard to trust Bryce here. But against the Giants, I mean, he just got Dennis Allen fired. Maybe he can get Daniel Jones fired, and just go around collecting scalps like he's Aldo from Inglourious Bastards. I want me my scalps. So
maybe so.
Yeah. Thielen, I mean, whatever. If your league has scoring premiums for touchdowns by receivers who are AARP eligible, then sure, fine. But we really should put more respect on his name. I mean, he's an undrafted guy, like probably top 5 in receiving yards of undrafted players all time, if I had to guess. Colt, are you from Mankato? Your Minnesota bias is showing, son.
No, it's not. Let's talk about this next guy. I'm actually excited for him. He's probably at the top of my list. Quentin Johnston. Like, he was showing some flashes here earlier in the season. I say earlier in the season, but like earlier before he got injured, but after they stopped trying to rely on the run. Justin Herbert's been fantastic these past couple weeks. He went 4 for 118 and a touchdown in week 9 in his first game back. Like, he's closer to like a risky flex play. You never really know, but he has upside and possible long-term value for the rest of the season given their schedule. Like, the Chargers, they look really good. I like him over this next guy who, I mean, Demarcus Robinson, 4 touchdowns, 2 games. Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, they're obviously clearly the 1-2 combo. But if you're struggling with the flex option, like, is that somewhere you're looking? I mean, there's always a chance for a TD or 2.
Yeah, I mean, the Rams. This is how it's been kind of since last season, right? Is like just kind of a random guy, Demarcus Robinson, first last year, can come out of nowhere and feast for 2, 3, 4 games at a time. The Vikings and the Seahawks secondaries have been sieves to opposing passing offenses, so that was definitely part of it. Against Miami, I don't want no part of it. Nobody has really thrown on Miami. Like Ray Davis's long run for a touchdown against them shouldn't even count because 60-yard touchdown with 59 of it is yards after catch. But yeah, like this is just the Miami secondary is having one of those types of years for defensively. So there's no reason to attack it. But if you can trade DeMarcus Robinson to somebody in your league for somebody who's, Mike Evans is going to be out for a couple weeks, you can pawn him off on the Mike Evans owner. But hey, he can save your season. It's going to happen in at least one league.
Yeah. I
hope it's not in your league, but yeah.
We saw JSN and 49ers defense go from league neighbors, so anything is possible. I do remember you vividly, so I just want to give you a little pat on the back. Earlier in the season, when Puka went out or Kupp went out, or maybe it was both of them, you were like, hey, DeMarcus Robinson, he's going to have a handful of games. Like he had it last year. He's done that for his career. Like he finds the end zone. So kudos to you. I remember you saying that earlier in the season. Just wanted to pat you on the back for that. Let's talk about this next guy who you said you had to start him in a league and you weren't really excited about it before, but Ray McLeod, Drake London, as I mentioned in the injury section, he has a hip pointer issue. He may miss some time. It's ugly, but he's a full-time player for the Falcons, who they're a top 16 offense.
Easily, yeah. The McLeod's role has been trending in the wrong direction. Even though he did get a touchdown against the Cowboys last week, who didn't, frankly. But even with that, like he's now at 14 targets over the last 4 weeks. That's not enough to be fantasy relevant when your whole thing is 8-9 yard receptions. They are manufacturing some rushes for him. He's got 3 rushes for 27 yards over that time. But yeah, if London misses, like, is his role in the offense going to grow? Probably / maybe, but there's no overlap really between how they use Drake London versus how they've been using McLeod. So I personally would try not to take that bait. The Falcons are showing us that their infatuation with McLeod that started in like July in OTAs may be kind of running its course. He's back returning kicks too, and that's kind of a little bit of an indicator of like them saying like, maybe you can do more for us not playing so much offense. So, yeah. And then against the Saints, like, they're going to be up so big, so fast in that game. Like, they can take the air out of the football, and it's going to be Tyler Algier show, our buddy. So, yeah. I like the Freudian slip of you in the show notes. You spelled his name Ray McCloud. So that giving away, your subconscious is telling the world how you actually feel about this player. Don't get Ray McCloud, folks.
And Google Docs did not correct it, so maybe they know something that we don't know. Maybe that's
not
just
incorrect.
AI
Is the reason?
It's not incorrect. Is it correct to pick up and start Jalen Tolbert if CeeDee Lamb misses?
Absolutely. Yeah. No. He's the. So part of the reason I like Lamb, even with Rush out there, is Cooper Rush knows he's Cooper Rush. And there's something to be said for players that realize, I probably don't belong in the NFL, and I'm okay with that. So what's great about Cooper Rush is he will let superstars, elite players, make plays that make him look good. And what that meant for him last time he saw the field for the Cowboys was throwing balls and trusting CeeDee Lamb to make a play on them, and it working out more often than not. So with no Lamb, his alternatives are going to be, turning and handing the ball off to Rico Dowdle, which the Eagles are going to get wise to real fast, or trusting Jake Ferguson or Jalen Tolbert to bail him on some kind of YOLO balls. So Tolbert is the next man up in terms of juice factor quantity. So Brandon Cooks is nowhere. I don't even know. The Cowboys aren't even talking about Brandon Cooks. I don't know that we're going to see Brandon Cooks again in 2024. Maybe not again in a Cowboys uniform. Maybe not again on an NFL field because he is getting way up there age-wise. Yeah, Tolbert is an auto start as a flex or high-end wide receiver 3 against the Eagles. You can throw on the Eagles.
If Lamb is active, you're still cool starting him?
Yeah, I mean they're going to be throwing. They're going to be playing catch up here. They are not going to slow the Eagles down even without AJ Brown. Saquon Barkley is going to run roughshod in Dallas this week, unfortunately. So yeah, no, my enthusiasm goes way down, but he could get a touchdown real easy. So
yeah, no, I agree. I've watched Cooper Rush perform before. It was Rams in 2022 in October.
They won
at SoFi.
They won that
Did
game.
they win? Yeah, they did. They did. Because I remember it being it basically felt like a home game for the Cowboys because it's LA. But yeah, I saw Cooper Rush on display. I'm just saying, we might see some Trey Lance sooner than later.
I really like the research you did on this next guy.
I went down the rabbit hole. So let me tell you a little bit about Mason Tipton. You were excited about him. This is the Saints rookie wide receiver out of Yale, who you may say, wow, I haven't heard of a guy, Andre Yoshivash out of Princeton. Like, we've got some other guys from Harvard. Yep. So only one wide receiver has ever been drafted out of Yale, Curtis Greavy, who in 1981 led the Ivy League Conference in receptions, yards, and touchdowns. It was 51 for 791 and 12. It's very close to what Tipton did, 52, 786, and 10. And, that was the best in the Ivy League, one of the best in the Ivy League in 2023. So, hey, maybe he's reincarnated there. I couldn't find any stats on this Curtis Greavy guy whatsoever. If he would have played, it would have been the 1982 season, which was the strike season. They played, I think, 9 games. It was Dick Vermeil's Eagles that he would have played for. I couldn't find anything on it. It was, so that was a bit of a bummer. But Tipton, tell me what you like about him. You had a little tinfoil hat message for the people out there.
What I like about Tipton really is just that one of the surprises, and for Chris Olave owners, one of the great frustrations was that coming into 20, we have assumptions. Universally accepted assumptions that always wind up getting busted. And one of them, for sure, in 2024 was, well, sure, Shaheed's going to have a role in this offense, but he's going to be second fiddle to Olave. Olave's going to be target leader by a lot. That didn't happen even before the wheels fell off for the Saints, starting really in week 4. Shaheed was not only hitting big plays, he was starting to see real volume, real reception volume in the offense over Olave. And then, yes, Shaheed's season ends prematurely, unfortunately, a player that the Saints clearly are fairly high on. But right after Shaheed goes down, while Olave is still upright, Tipton stepped in and against the Broncos saw Shaheed-like volume. He had 9 targets turned into 6 receptions. It was a rattler, so it was, he didn't do much. But for whatever reasons I don't understand, A.T. Perry, who was a touchdown, showed a lot of potential as a red zone converter last year before the Saints decided, no, we're done with A.T. Perry. He's gone. He's on the Broncos practice squad right now. Olave, we have no idea what's going to happen there. Bub Means is on IR. Juwan Johnson remains Juwan Johnson. There's nobody else that can process any sort of meaningful volume as a wide receiver. Now, is that just going to mean that the Saints offense is going to shrink and they're not going to push the ball down the field and they're going to play small ball, kind of like we just saw the Bucs and the Chiefs both do a ton of tonight? Yeah, probably. I mean, that's probably what is going to happen. But to the extent that they do push the ball down the field, it's going to have to be to Tipton primarily, unless Olave can get back on the field anytime soon, and we have no idea there. So in deeper leagues, if Tipton is hanging out there, there's a real scenario where this guy winds up being a weekly flex play for a portion of the remainder of the season. It's not likely, but the stars are aligning for it to be a real possibility here. So in deep leagues, if you're hurting a wide receiver, you've got Metcalf, AJ Brown problems, Mike Evans problems, Mason Tipton could come out and catch 6 or 7 balls this week. It would not surprise me one bit.
Yeah, no, it's named to be mentioned.
He's got 4.3 speed, and yeah, he had a high dominator rating for the freaking Yale Bulldogs, whatever their mascot is. So, yeah.
Kudos to you knowing it's the Yale Bulldogs as well.
I guessed. I did guess.
Not a lot of people know about the Ivy League conference. So
we're gonna get some hate mail on that one. You don't know the Yale Bulldogs?
Yeah, the thing about the Saints, though, they don't really care about all the metrics like that. You talk about 4.3 speed. A.T. Perry was 9 foot tall. Like, they don't care. They don't care about any of those. They care about the intangibles.
True.
You know who has intangibles? Let's get onto our tight end section. I'm going to skip a couple guys and hop to this guy, Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill has the intangibles. Like, it's a little scarier because, they got the coaching changes. You got, Olave, everybody's out for the team except for Tipton, obviously. But, they should use the weapons that they have. And Taysom Hill is one of the weapons. Like, he just went in there, 4 receptions, 4 for 41. He carried the ball 5 times for 19 yards and a touchdown. Like, he also had a pass attempt. Like, that's always alluring. A lot of hate came out there about Derek Carr giving a hospital ball to Chris Olave. I'm sure you saw the Michael Thomas tweets going back and forth between the guys, and Derek Carr even acknowledging them and getting asked about them in an interview. Like, he was not ashamed to talk about them. But I had a little section here for you. It's Taysom trivia. A little Taysom trivia for you time, okay?
Taste of Taysom, okay.
Yeah, taste of Taysom. Put these in order from most to fewest on the amount of touchdowns. Taysom Hill receiving touchdowns, rushing touchdowns, and passing touchdowns in the regular season.
Career?
Which does he have the most of, and which does he have the fewest of?
Rushing touchdowns he has to have the most of. I won't accept any other answer. Receiving or passing. I'm going to say he has more.
He was paid like a quarterback, remember?
He's got more passing touchdowns and then receiving touchdowns.
You were right with the rushing. He's got 30 rushing touchdowns. He has even more not even more, but he has a lot in the playoffs as well. I think like 7 or 9 or 11 or something like that. It went up crazy. Receiving and passing touchdowns, he's 11 each. So he's tied there. So, but good guess. You knew the rushing one. I didn't know dude had so many rushing touchdowns.
That's crazy.
At the tight end position that's paid like a quarterback, he has 30 rushing touchdowns.
He has to be top 8 in franchise history in rushing touchdowns at this point. Maybe top 6. Deuce McAllister, Mark Ingram, Reggie Bush. I mean, Kamara, like, we're already running out of guys. So, yeah, wow. Taysom.
It's going to be close there. But on a serious note, if he's out there, I think you could do worse at the tight end position.
Yeah, I guess.
I like talking about this next guy just a little bit more. Mike Gesicki. We mentioned him on last week's episode. He came out, performed again. T. Higgins was out, and he was the tight end number 1 overall in week 9. Like, maybe outside of Travis Kelce, depending on your scoring settings. But, he had 2 touchdowns and 100 yards for, 5 receptions. He was definitely the tight end 1 still. Never mind. Yeah. The Bengals, they play on Thursday Night Football. You will know if T. Higgins is out, and if he is, you know the recipe for success. That is Mike Gesicki. Like, it's been just an easy plug and play at the tight end position. And then, we know the Ravens, you could pass on them, especially with the tight end. So, yeah, Joe Burrow, I mean, he's on pace for almost 40 passing touchdowns. So, excited for that.
Mike Gesicki from Manahawkin, New Jersey. That's just outside of Atlantic City. I say that because we got to start to put some respect back on Gesicki's name. This is a guy who had two career 700-yard receiving seasons last year before your Patriots. What is with the Patriots and derailing the fantasy careers of tight ends? John Smith, you did this too? Yeah. And then you did this to Gesicki. Poor, sweet Mike Gesicki. He looks like an 80s henchman, and you do this to this poor man? Terrible. Gesicki's good, okay? I don't care. He does the gritty very badly. Yes, that's true. He does everything else well, okay? Like, there's a chance. It's not likely, but there is a chance that T. Higgins is traded tomorrow. So if Gesicki is still out there on your waiver wire, you need to rectify that. If you can trade for Gesicki, if you have real tight end problems, you took Sam Laporta too early, like I did in many leagues, go get this man because he could be a tight end 1 the rest of the season. Everyone's infatuated with Cade Otton right now, and rightfully so. Mike Gesicki is kind of Cade Ottoning right now, guys. It's real. Yeah. No, he really is. He's looking great. I'm going to just briefly say this next name because we say him basically every week except for last week. Hunter Henry, Patriots tight end. Yep. He's back.
He's had at least 5 receptions and 40 yards in each of the last 3 games.
Great.
That's all I will say.
We know.
Quarterback streams of the week. I'd like to say Matthew Stafford, but his schedule is absolutely horrendous, basically from now until the end of the season. Really? I'm not excited for him. Yeah, every team he faces is ranked 14th or better against quarterbacks. So, yeah, I'm not really excited for it. I would be excited for Aaron Rodgers.
God, yeah, never mind. Holy cow.
Yeah, Stafford's schedule is just awful.
And Stafford had like 3 fantasy points at halftime yesterday. Like the way that things got crazy at the end of Seahawks Rams really saved his fantasy day. He went from being like the QB 28 to a fringe quarterback 1 in like overtime, basically.
Let's go overtime. Aaron Rodgers, he's quietly 7th in passing yards and touchdowns. He plays the Cardinals, which is a plus matchup for quarterbacks. Like, you could do worse. Finally getting the rapport with, Adams yet again and Wilson. Like, Garrett Wilson's target share has not moved, and Adams is setting it like a 25 to 30% target share each week. So, yeah, I mean, I'd sit with those guys.
I will say the Cardinals like to sit back and like cover 3, cover 4, and play a lot of heavy zone and try to get coverage sacks on guys. That worked great on Caleb Williams, who is still going through a lot of growing pains and getting used to seeing all these complex coverages. That is not going to work against Aaron Rodgers. He's got real receivers now. If his offensive line can hold up against an anemic Cardinals pass rush, although the Cardinals did just trade for, I think, Baron Browning from the Broncos, bringing in some questionable pass rush help, but they're trying. Yeah, I think he could carve the Cardinals up. I like that spot a lot.
And then Justin Herbert, Titans are middle of the pack against quarterbacks. He's, he just got Quentin Johnston back, who we were talking about in the, the wide receiver section. Yeah. You pair that along with Ladd McConkey and Joshua Palmer. Like, if you haven't been watching any of Justin Herbert, like the first few weeks, they were running the ball a ton. After the bye, he's 3rd in pass attempts, 2nd in yards. He's averaging 18 fantasy points a game. He has a top 5 schedule for the rest of the season. So I like him, but he's not everybody's cup of tea.
I want another week before I'm ready to trust Justin Herbert here. I know what you're saying, and what you're saying is right. Like, he has started to dial up the counting stats coming out of the Rams bye week, or the Chargers bye week. But you also a little bit got to consider the schedule. It was the Broncos coming out of the bye week. Like that's a tough draw. Did throw a lot against the Cardinals, but who doesn't throw a lot against the Cardinals? The Saints was kind of an outlier because they controlled that game. They didn't really have to do that. But the Browns are a total pass funnel. It's very hard to get anything going against the Browns on the ground. You can throw on them. So the schedule is nice. Bengals, Ravens, Falcons, the Chargers should be throwing. Against the Titans, that just sets up to me as kind of a bruiser, 16-13, 19-17 type of game. You can get fantasy, solid fantasy production out of those games, but the margins are a lot leaner. Herbert did get 282 yards against the Browns just now, but it was on 18 completions. That was big play dependent. QJ's 66-yard touchdown was a big part of it. So I would prefer Rodgers personally, but Herbert's fine.
Agreed. No, I certainly like Rodgers more than Herbert. I'm curious your thoughts on Herbert versus our next 2 guys. Trevor Lawrence, since week 5, he's been the quarterback 8. Like, no spike games, but no dud games like what Jordan Love just gave you, or Stafford at halftime. Caleb Williams, Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott. Like, people who are underperforming or getting injured. Trevor, if you want something safe, I think Trevor Lawrence is that. He plays the Vikings, which they're solid, but they've been okay against the quarterback position, outside of Joe Flacco, which I can't really blame him there. I think Trevor Lawrence is better than Joe Flacco at this point. And then Daniel Jones, he plays the Panthers on the road. He's thrown 2 touchdown passes in every road game so far this season, outside of playing the Steelers. The Steelers are great defense. And then he just came off a 3 total touchdown game against the Commanders. So I think him against the Panthers, like, I don't want to look at it when I set my lineup. I'm not going to watch that game because it's a disgusting game, but he could have more fantasy points than Trevor Lawrence, and I wouldn't be surprised this week.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I'm going to say about Daniel Jones. This is it. I've been live tweeting the demise of Daniel Jones over the last couple episodes of the show. This is it. I mean, the Giants have to win this game, or I think it's over for Dimes in New York. Why would you continue? You lose to the Panthers. It's not really a road game. They're in Germany. you have to win this game. The Panthers are bad. If you're not bad, you're going to win this game, period. Like, I'm sorry, you have to win this game, or what are we even talking about anymore? We're paying you $40 million to lose to the Panthers and end our season going into our bye week? It becomes too untenable. It's too untenable. This is it for Daniel Jones. I think he'll have a good fantasy day. Will he save his skin going forward? That I cannot tell you. The Panthers are in full-blown spoiler mode now. Trevor Lawrence, I will point out, Trevor Lawrence has, let me see real quick, he has 9 career games in the regular season with a rushing touchdown. 7 of them have been consecutive. So he goes on rushing touchdown binges, and he's in the middle of one right now. He has 3 rushing touchdowns over his last 2 games, 2 rushing scores against the Eagles last week. Saved his day big time. Mm-hmm. Can you count on that here against the Vikings? No, but it wouldn't surprise me at all. I mean, Lawrence is a good runner. They should be running him more, and every game from here on out is basically a must-win until Peterson gets canned. So, I like Lawrence here just fine. It's a rushing value-add situation for sure, and you can throw on the Vikings a little bit. I would rank them. I'm going to give the old man his props. I'm going to rank them Rodgers, T-Law, Justin Herbert, Dimes, just because it's all on the table for Daniel Jones at this point. We could see Drew Lock coming out of the locker room at halftime.
Yeah,
it's possible.
I have that exact order, I think, actually. So you put it in a good perspective there. 2 notes. One, I forgot we had a Germany game. Yuck. For me on the West Coast, it's 6:30 a.m., so it's pretty awful. But 2, what kind of product are we sending out there internationally for people to be like, hey, you should really like this sport. Look at the New York Giants and the Carolina Panthers.
I am not liking very much this American football, yeah. This is kind of scheiße.
Well, they might actually like it. I think they can't really like continue the drive, so there's gonna be a lot of field goals probably.
True, they're gonna. It's like the soccer, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This is football. Yeah. Okay. Sticking with that game, I think that's a really good DST. The Giants at the Panthers. Like, it's a Germany game, but I think that's a really, really good defensive stream right there. The Panthers, I mean, they're one of the lowest scoring, the lowest yardage producing. Bryce Young has 3 interceptions in the last 2 games. The Giants defense is actually pretty good. How well do they travel is to be seen, but I think that's a formidable one there. And then Falcons at the Saints. You got a divisional game here. Saints, they just lost everybody on offense outside of Alvin Kamara and our boy Mason Tipton. Yeah. They fired their head coach. They just simply haven't been good. Sometimes coach firing, they come out and they're rejuvenated. Like they're like, oh, that's exactly what we needed. I don't know if I see that here.
I think that will happen. Actually. Like this, I saw a clip. You remember in last year, the Arthur Smith's last game coaching the Falcons, Jameis Winston came out and the Saints ran the score up on the Falcons. After the game, Arthur Smith marches to midfield for the post-game handshake with Dennis Allen, and right away Dennis Allen is like, sorry, I did not mean to show you up in your last game, sorry. And Arthur Smith is, you mother, you this. And the special teams coach, the guy that the interim head coach, Rizzy or whatever his last name is, kind of stepped in and was like, well, are you going to do something? So is he Dan Quinn, like level rah-rah guy? Probably not, but Rich Bisaccia for the Raiders a couple years ago, he steps in, he leads them to a playoff. Yeah. That's not going to happen for the Saints here. But they'll turn up a little bit because everybody knew Dennis Allen was a joke hire. He was a cardboard cutout of what an NFL head coach should be. So they'll be glad that he's gone, but the Falcons are going to win this game, obviously. So, I like that play. I kind of like the Panthers against the Giants. Is that crazy? Like,
it's crazy because they're probably like a top 20 defense, but no, I see what you're saying.
The Panthers are not a top 20 defense, but in this situation where the Giants are on life support, I don't know. We'll see.
I'm saying you could play them as a top 20 defense. Like there's probably other ones that are out there. Like,
yeah, I looked at the slate. It was rough. rough. I kind of like the Lions again in Sunday night against the Texans. The Texans are slumping, and we don't. I mean, it would be a blind play because unless we get Nico ruled out hard before Sunday night, that gets real dicey. But the Lions are a big play unit. The Texans have been struggling, so I wouldn't mind the Lions.
And then Eagles, Cowboys, that's a kind of a no-brainer. I think Eagles is probably rostered there. But, yeah, That's the waiver wire episode. I mean, that we went through a lot of stuff. We had a little trivia, had a few games.
Yeah.
If you guys like that, please let us know. Again, our Twitters, underscore Colt Williams. You can find Luke at dluke87. Hit us in the comments on YouTube. Luke does a lot of work on getting us onto the YouTube, so say hello if you see us out there. We're seeing some comments pop up every now and then. We try to like and react to them and talk to you guys on there, so feel free to hit us up there too.
Yeah, if you have a question, you want to expand a little bit on something we said in the show or something that we did not say in the show, and you have a question, leave a comment in the YouTube, leave a comment on, obviously the podcast gets posted on the Fantasy Index website as well. Leave a comment on the website. You got to create an account, but that's a low cost of entry. There's no fee, folks. I would say after 9 weeks of waiver wire episodes, this was comfortably one of our top 10 best episodes of the season. So good job, sir. Pat on the back to us both. All right, folks. Well, again, you want to chat us up, get at us on the Twitters. We will be back with you next week to go over Week 10 action in the NFL. All right, stay safe out there and make some trades, folks. Go win your league.
Go Yale Bulldogs.
Go Yale Bulldogs, exactly.
This has been the Fantasy Index Podcast. For more great content, premium rankings, and cheat sheets, head over to fantasyindex.com.